do? What did they want to do? What did they want to know? They wanted to know what to do to be saved because they knew they had sinned in murdering the Son of God through the hand of the Roman soldiers. You see, friends, sincerity will not change error into truth. It will not change sin into obedience. The Ethiopian eunuch, about whom we read in Acts 8, was a sincere man. Had gone all the way from Ethiopia to Jerusalem to worship according to the Jewish religion, riding back home in his chariot, reading from the prophet Isaiah. Philip, a faithful man sent by the Lord's servants to go and join himself to the chariot, and he did so, and he found him reading from that passage, and he asked him if he understood what he was reading. He said, "How can I except some man should guide me?" My friends, this man was sincere. Made all that long journey by chariot from Ethiopia to Jerusalem and was on the way back, and yet he's lost. Philip preached to him the gospel of Christ, preached Jesus to him, the Bible taught, and yet when they came to a certain water, the Ethiopian, having heard the gospel plan of salvation, that penitent believers in Christ are not saved until they are immersed in water, that they might be saved by the grace of God through the blood of Christ. And so when they came to water, he said, "See, here is water. What doth hinder me to be baptized?" And Philip said, "If you believe with all of your heart, you may." He confessed his faith. Both men got out of the chariot. They both went down into the water, and Philip baptized him. And then, and not until then, he went on his way rejoicing. Saul of Tarsus, perhaps the greatest enemy the church ever had, the greatest enemy the Lord ever had. He called himself the chief of sinners, gave consent unto the death of Stephen, the great servant of Christ, stood by and held the garments of those who were stoning him to death. And yet he was lost. He said in Acts 23:1, he'd lived in all good conscience before God unto this day. Yet he was lost. He was lost until he was baptized into Christ. Philip, Ananias, the man sent by the Lord to tell him what to do to be saved, said, "And now why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized and wash away thy sins, calling on his name." My friends, you call on the name of the Lord for salvation, not by just lifting up your hands into heaven and crying out, "O Lord, save me," but you do it by learning the truth that you must be baptized as a penitent believer. That's what he was told to do. "And now why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized. Wash away thy sins, calling on his name." In other words, you call on the name of the Lord for salvation when you are baptized into Christ. We're told in Romans 10:13 and 14 that the person who calls on the name of the Lord is saved. But you can't call on the name of the Lord unless you first believe. And so between being saved and believing, there's the act of obedience called calling on his name. And we see from Acts 22 that we call on the name of the Lord for salvation when we're baptized. My friends, it's necessary to be sincere, but being sincere is not enough. You must study the truth, you must learn the truth, you must love the truth, you must obey it. When you're baptized, you become a Christian. The Lord adds you to the church for which he died, for which he shed his blood, and then you must be faithful unto death, living the faithful Christian life. And when you do that, heaven will be your home throughout eternity. May God bless you is my sincere prayer.